Welcome back to the channel, IndigoAngel, beloved one, Starseed, planetary stewards of New Earth. And come on into this dimension, come on into this powerful cosmic grid update. We haven't gotten into a grid update for some time on my channel. I think New York City was the last cosmic grid update deep dive that I actually did. So it is due time to get back into the grid work. And so today we are going to be diving into Venezuela. Venezuela from a Guardian perspective. I am speaking to you today as a conduit of the Guardian Alliance, drawing from the quarantine authorization cycle spanning 2025 through 2044. So this will be a transmission today that is designed to guide you through the layers of what is unfolding in the grids on a spiritual level, on an unseen level, and to help you through what is ultimately unfolding through the dark fleets, military fleets, and negative ET factions that are working through this war, and what is essentially activating according to the organic stargates in Venezuela, because I can tell you right now that Venezuela is loaded with sacred sites and activating vortices, stargate locations, and even its very own universal tree of life that is essentially, you could say, a spiritual gridwork mecca of holy energies. So a lot is happening and unfolding. So feel free to settle into this update and take a nice deep breath. As I hope that you are doing your breath work at this time, it is ultimately one of the most important and healing things you can do for your entire full body system, mind, body, and spirit. And let's get into this update, just allowing the information to integrate on all levels into your being. We will cover the surface level 3D events, the energetic undercurrents, the sacred sites anchoring this theater, okay, and the broader planetary implications of all of this. This is not merely commentary, okay, you guys. What I'm presenting is synthesis of pattern recognition. This is gridwork activation and prophetic alignment with the New Earth timeline. And today I am drinking some Blue Lotus this morning. I'm actually have never drank Blue Lotus before, so I finally ordered some and I've added it to my apothecary, which at some point, you guys, I will be giving you a tour of my apothecary that I just installed in my kitchen. So I am looking for suggestions of particular herbs and spices to add to my apothecary. I am absolutely in love with waking up every morning and being able to go to my cabinet and have a multitude of herbs to pick for the day, according to whatever it is I'm feeling that I need to work on in terms of my healing, my energy, and what I essentially want to cultivate in terms of vibration for the day. So, if you don't have an apothecary at home, I highly recommend one. And just to add a little bit more of a personal update for you guys, essentially, I want to let everybody know that I am feeling so much better since my gallbladder surgery. So, if you caught my most recent personal update that I did about 4 weeks ago, I had informed everyone that I had gallbladder removal surgery and that, my health really over the whole year of 2025 was kind of in a critical condition. And so post gallbladder surgery, I have to say, you guys, I feel like I've gotten my life back. I feel like it was a major turning point for me, and I am starting to feel so much better. So again, just wanted to thank everybody for the well wishes and just everyone who sent donations and who was there for me through that time of need. And I do feel like things are starting to get much better for me. So thank you so, so much. And I also wanted to inform everyone that I am highlighting a service to go along with this Cosmic Grid update, and that is going to be my life coordinate personal grid reading. This is a reading that is about an hour and a half. Sometimes it can go a little over, But this is a session that is very popular. Anybody who might be relocating or thinking about relocating in 2026, and you want information about where you're relocating, you want to look at the grid structure, you want to look at the ley lines, you want to look at what sacred vortices you'll be near in terms of that relocation, or maybe you just want to look at where you currently reside. You want to look at your current grid template. These are all things that I go over in the life coordinate personal grid reading. And this is such an amazing reading. Everyone who does this reading absolutely loves it. It comes with a recorded MP4 and your own very personal charted chart on Scribbles Maps, and you get access to that map that you can look at and review that map anytime you would like to. But not only do we cover the present in terms of the grids, we also cover the past. Where were you born? Where did you have your first child? Where did you get married? Where were your parents from? And we kind of tie together what I like to call your grid thumbprint. Okay, what does your cosmic earthly grid thumbprint essentially look like? And how much information can we extract from that? How much channeled information and spiritual information can we gain from that? Which honestly, it is most significant and most empowering in terms of understanding of how you're related to all these locations and how it has continued to unfold in your life and also where you're going. A lot of times we can pick up on a lot of future events and future information in terms of where you need to be and position yourself for the best alignment with your purpose. So I recommend this reading. I am putting it on a special. I'm giving 10% off this reading going into January. So all the links will be down in the description below. Okay, guys, thank you so much. And I wanted to essentially kind of get into more of this update by starting this update out with really informing everyone, who the Guardian Alliance is, what is the Guardian Alliance, and how do I essentially affiliate with it? And what have I come to interpret about the Guardian Alliance? So, as you may have noticed on my channel, is over the last since about August, I've really been speaking from a position of an emissary, from a position of an ambassador, from a position of a messenger, essentially on the behalf of the Guardian Alliance. And this is because so much information came through as I was writing my book and channeling my book. I was visited by headquarters essentially from the Mintaka system, and I was essentially granted access to the way the internal function of the Guardian Alliance operates. Okay, and so I'm going to give you the definition of the Guardian Alliance, who they are, because I feel this is very, very important. It's important for many, many reasons. One is because you will notice that I also do not vouch for conglomerations, federations, or any other organization other than the Guardian Alliance. And that is because anything other than the Guardian Alliance is simply just not the truth. And all their systems have ultimately been corrupted and invaded by negative ETs. Okay, and so I want to essentially define this for you guys and allow you guys to understand that there is massive credibility behind this alliance. Okay, I'm not speaking from a place of non-qualification or non-authorization. Okay, I'm speaking from a place of recorded history and verifiable and provable history. Um, Coming forth with all of the covenants and essentially orders that the Guardian Alliance has brought forward since the beginning of the primordial essence of this planetary body itself. I'm going to signal to you here and show you the Guardian Alliance emblem and the Guardian Alliance seal. Essentially, I want you guys to take a look at this as these emblems did come through during the writing of my book, as well as official emblems and seals on the behalf of the Guardian Alliance. And I was guided to show you these as I went through this particular template and description of the Alliance itself for you guys. Okay. So, we are definitely going to get into the nitty-gritty of the Venezuelan update. You can forward to that part of the update if you would like to. Um, I'll put the time markers here as well, so you can just kind of skip forward. But I am going to give the basis of the alliance for anyone who may be interested in that if they seek to continue to be informed by the alliance on my channel. So, the Guardian Alliance is the supreme interdimensional council of the Christos Sophia aligned nations, orders, and creator races unified in service to the eternal law of one. They have never abandoned the law of one. It functions as the cosmic administrative body governing the restoration, the defense, and ascension of planetary systems throughout the five harmonic universes. Rooted in the original Emerald Covenant, the Guardian Alliance safeguards the architecture of organic creation, ensuring that every living world may evolve according to divine law, free will, and sovereign alignment with Source. Okay, and so by having that explanation, it's important to know that the Guardian Alliance is not defined by any particular group of beings. Okay, the Guardian Alliance is defined by many, many, many different nations, and that essentially, the Guardian Alliance is not merely an organization. Okay, it is a frequency field of divine governance. Okay, it is like, a living energy consciousness, okay, that comes from the eternal mother and father, and the unbroken line of guardianship that stretches from the first dawn of creation to the final restoration of all worlds. Its mission is eternal, and it is to preserve the flame of truth, sovereignty, and divine love in every corner of the cosmos until all beings remember they are one with Source. And that way we can return to Source as one. Okay, this is actually the final revelation. And my sacral chakra is just unfolding and flowering as I say all this to you, because I know that this is activating your sacral chakra as I say this, because it is the truth. Its central command station resides in the Mintakan Diamond Citadel within the Orion system, a crystalline living fortress of light that operates as the cosmic nucleus of the solar Christic restoration timeline protocols. And from this citadel, Guardian Councils coordinate interstellar rehabilitation operations across galaxies and harmonic universes under the direct supervision of the Central Galactic Tribunal and the Emerald Founders' oversight. Okay, they do operate out of Emerald Stargate, Guardian Stargates on the planet, which are more preserved, more hidden Guardian restoration gate systems than your typical Stargate networks on this planet. And not too many people have access to these. Some people do. It is a very small handful of people that gain access to the actual Guardian locations. These governing bodies maintain cosmic jurisprudence, enforcing the covenant of origin, and ensuring all Guardian interventions are in harmony with eternal law. The Guardian Alliance comprises the highest orders of the divine service, including the Emerald Order Elohai, Amethyst Order Brahmarama, the Gold Order Seraphi. Okay, and what is the Alacia, which is the divine feminine bioluminescent magenta flame that essentially protects this entire sector of our galaxy? The Elion Melchizedek Councils, okay, the original flame holders of Giza. Supporting these primary orders are the guardian nations of the original Orions, the Andromedans, the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Sirians, the Venusians, the Mentakans, the Lyrans, the Cygnians, and Hydra lineages, several unseen nations, okay, additional to the ones that I just stated, and Earth Spirit Guardians, consisting of indigos, starseeds, and angelic humans, each serving as protectors of specific star systems, stargates, and crystalline grid complexes, and together they maintain a vast plasma communication network linking billions of worlds through harmonic resonance, solar geometry, and living light and sound architecture. And within this Earth's planetary field, the Guardian Alliance operates through incarnate emissaries. Okay, and so this is how we feel so connected to them. This is how we activate DNA templates and mission contracts for reclamation of Earth's morphogenetic blueprint. Through these human representatives, the Alliance anchors the Christos Sophia codes, reactivates the 12D planetary shield, which I do feel may be actually held in Venezuela. And why this is coming forward at this time. There is many significant structures in South America because they are considered the swaddling cloth of the new Earth future. And so this may be the war, the underlining penny war, truly the spiritual war with Venezuela. And I got full body resonant chills as I say this, okay? That this war in itself is because there is a current of restoring organic flow of source across the planetary grid system that is awakening. And these missions include safeguarding the solar shield. Okay, there is a solar shield held in Venezuela. It is about safeguarding the Swan Light Network and the Dove Grid and the divine blueprint grids. And I do feel that the white hats, okay, what you may consider the beings of light in the administrations, okay, the beings of light that are working within the highest political echelons, that are maintaining the structural integrity of planetary resurrection architecture and repel Draco AI infiltration. Okay, which I do feel a lot of this is working through the US government. Not all factions, persons, and people are affiliated, though, and this is where the water gets muddy. Okay, this is how reversal gates get tapped into and false ascension matrices get integrated into what is pure and organic. But all Guardian Alliance operations are governed by the Cosmic Covenant law and protected by the Covenant of Origin and the Guardian Covenant, which I will get into as I get closer to the launch of my book, The Guardian Alliance Gridwork and New Earth Prophecy, that will be officially available 2/2/2/26. Gotta love those numbers, right, you guys? So, um, all of this will be in my book. But these particular laws prohibit coercive interference within any free will evolutionary field. Guardians intervene only upon lawful planetary consent or when dimensional thresholds of activation are reached. Their frequency cannot be summoned through ritual or dogma, but through heart resonance with the eternal flame of Christos Sophia, the living current of divine truth, love, and unity that underlies all creation and upholds the entire creational structures. The Guardian Alliance embodies the highest expression of divine stewardship. Its purpose is not domination. And any purpose that therein is domination is not of the Guardian Alliance. Control is not of the Alliance. Oppression is not of the Alliance. But service to life is of the Alliance. It exists to restore the Edenic Earth, to reinstate the planetary template of harmony, sovereignty, and peace, and to return humanity to its rightful station within crystal star ascension worlds through the orders of the rose, the dove, the swan, the lion, and the eternal flame, both masculine and feminine. The Alliance enacts the full resurrection of the planetary and cosmic Christos architecture, uniting heaven and earth once more under the eternal governance of the Emerald Founders. Okay, so I felt that this was very important, even though that was long, to state the ultimate truth of the Alliance to you, to understand that what I come forward with when I come through and with these messages, um, cosmic grid updates, and intel from the Alliance, that it is coming from the purest place within that. Okay, so. I know that was a lot, and we do have a lot to get into regarding Venezuela. As you can see, much of this is tied into the alliance and their intervention of harm within this, you could say, 10-year war with Venezuela. This feels like this is new, but this has been going on for some time. Okay, guys, so yeah, grab your tea, take a moment to center yourself. Inhale deeply through your nose. And feel that breath expand in your abdomen, your chest, your awareness, and exhale slowly, releasing any tension and any expectations or preconceptions. And take a moment to just ground your feet into the earth and ground your crown into God. Visualize your crown roots and your root roots extending deep into the planetary core and into the eternal light of Source, connecting you into the organic grid template. And feel the golden light of the Guardian Quarantine enveloping you because it is to ultimately protect you in this field as we move through the timelines of chaos and uncertainty in the lower Earth worlds where the wars are occurring in 1D, 2D, and 3D Earth. The quarantine field is to filter distortions and amplify clarity. And we are not here to react, but to observe. We are to hold space and to activate the coherence in the field. This is the place in which the Guardians function from. So this update focuses on Venezuela as a major grid point and power position, one that has the potential to reorganize the entire relationship between North and South America, which is actually very strategic in the awakening of the dove light. On the surface, this appears as a conflict over oil, regime change, and geopolitical dominance, but through the Guardian lens, it is a pivotal node in the planetary ascension process, where old density structures are being purged to make way for sovereign flow. And I can assure you of this. Okay. And ultimately, what is clearing from the Amazon rainforest, which is the grief of the Mother Earth, and the grief in the loss of our angelic humans, and the ultimate bloodlines that are connected to the future sovereign seventh root race. Okay, the ones that have died from the narco terrorism, the ones that have been the victims of the fentanyl crisis. Okay, the ones that are the victims of the dark military regimes that are operating in Venezuela. So we're going to get into all of that. And so let's pull up the map and take a look at what is happening here. Okay, so here is my charted map. This is everything that I've charted um, with Venezuela. And I've also put on the map the Bermuda Triangle and SS2 as I feel that there is a strong magnetic triangulation that is ultimately magnetizing these two land continents together and all of the geopolitical warfare that is occurring within that, that it has much to do with these magnetic vortices and ultimately some of the Draco corruption that is happening in SS2 and also Atlantean reincarnation of fallen Syrian Melchizedek priest lines and Martians that are coming in from Mars as well. So, yes, there is a negative ET alliance, I feel, that is ultimately working here under the scenes. And we're going to get into what all of that means ultimately and what it has to do with these very precious sacred sites here down in Venezuela and where the narco boats essentially are being blasted out of the water. So, let's get into the details of all of this. I do like to look at things from the 3D angle as much as possible. I actually like to gather information on every single dimension that I possibly can to paint the full picture. So the United States military began executing airstrikes on vessels in the Caribbean Sea in September 2025. Again, this is a 10-year war that is culminating into the now, positioned by the administrations of Donald Trump as a mission to fight maritime drug trafficking in Latin America. This is the ultimate reason as to what the Trump administration is giving us as to why this is occurring. Okay, which feels, if you tune into it, it feels like an honorable reason. We've seen, what the drugs are doing to people, particularly in California, particularly in LA, particularly in Skid Row, particularly in the homeless population in New York City, in Miami, in Texas. And we all know someone, a family or a friend that has someone in their family that has died from fentanyl, that has died from an overdose, I mean, teen children that are going to parties and trying drugs for the very first time type of thing and getting a dose of fentanyl and passing away. So this is a crisis in the United States. This is something that has caused a lot of misery, a lot of heartache, and a lot of grief of the loss of our children, our indigos, and our starseeds. So when I look at this reason that they're giving us as to why this is happening, on some level, we can see that this is an honorable reason, right? That they're giving. So let's continue. In October, the strikes expanded to include the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The Trump administration alleged that the vessels were operated by groups it designated as narco terrorists. Okay, Venezuelan terrorist organizations such as Tren de Aragua and the Colombian far left guerrilla group National Liberation Army. So, just so you guys know, this isn't just about Venezuela, that these narco terrorists are essentially operating also heavily out of Colombia and heavily out of Mexico. So this is kind of a problem all across this region. And Venezuela is just where I think the focus is being tuned into. If you remember what was happening in Denver, Colorado, I'm, originally from Denver, Colorado, lived there for 26 years of my adult life. And there was invasions of Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado to Denver, Colorado, where they were just murdering people, in the streets and taking over entire apartment complexes and running their gangs out of Colorado. So, this isn't something that this was very close to home for me personally, to be honest with you. Hence, one of the reasons why I moved to Florida is because I wanted to get out of a liberal state. I wanted to get out of a blue state where crime was just expanding. Um, there was no more punishments for, um, under the Saturnian rule, essentially, that crime was not being reprimanded. There was theft all over good suburban communities and neighborhoods, and I just began to feel unsafe. And ultimately, the inflation pushed me out. So I found a home here in Pensacola, Florida. But, a lot of this stuff wasn't publicized, I think, on the national level as it should have been, given to, internal um, conspiracies, internal um, political, geopolitical warfare that's happening within our own very nation, and, people being very anti-American and not wanting to protect American citizens, as you guys may know. So, we have to begin with a lot of these 3D details because this is where the inception of the 4D battle comes into play. So we have to ground into this discussion of these tangible events. Now, yesterday, okay, December 28th, beloved ones, uh, the escalation between the United States and Venezuela has intensified dramatically. Just as of yesterday, just as of the most recent weeks, under Trump's administration. So essentially, Trump announced a U.S. strike on what he described as a big facility in Venezuela, framing it as part of an aggressive anti-drug, not just the anti-drug, but also regime change operation. So now we're starting to see that this is not just about the drugs. They want to get Maduro out of there, right? Um, Diving deeper into this, U.S. has basically been sanctioning Venezuela and President Nicolas Maduro's family members and all of his key allies since December 11th. They don't like this guy. He's apparently, you know, allowing these groups to operate. It is actually, they're up against the whole dark military, and it's making things more conflict, more broader along the borders. And essentially, what's happening because of this is there is a naval blockade that was ordered by the White House to essentially quarantine Venezuela oil experts. So now they're saying, it's gone from narco terrorism to they want a regime change to now this is about oil. Okay. But really, I think this is about leveraging the power that the United States has to essentially, intercept their oil tankers entering and leaving the Venezuelan waters. It's not isolated. It's part of a broader strategy with Trump issuing explicit regime change threats, right? So it is about a regime change, but I don't think it's ultimately about wanting Venezuelans oil. Why? Because Venezuelan oil has very high sulfur. It has a there's a lot that has to go into it for it to be processed. It's not considered premium oil. It's not considered the best oil out there. So really, they're trying to make it about the oil. But I honestly feel like the consciousness, and I'm biased because I'm a United States citizen and I ultimately do, um, you know, uh, I guess support things that are protecting the United States, right? And I would hope that if you were a United States citizen, you would be feeling similar to that, that you wouldn't be taking, an anti-American stance, that you would be in support of the things that are protective. Of course, we don't want to go to war, but at the same time, I think we have to understand the things that occur underneath it all that put Americans in danger, right? And that is a guardian protective measure. That is a guardian protecting all life. And so sometimes these things have to happen for life to be protected. We have to remember that. So, yes, this is part of a broader strategy with Trump issuing um, demands that Venezuela, you know, return their oil, their land, and other assets that the United States is actually claiming are stolen. Okay. And so um, I think what's unfortunate about this, though, is that it's turning this beautiful Caribbean Sea, okay, it's turning this beautiful organic life force energy of purity, into a war zone. It's a contested battle space over the waters. That's something that we should be paying attention to. I think I quoted back in some of my previous updates that we have to pay attention to what is playing out in the waters. This is going to really reveal a lot when it comes to what is occurring on the spiritual plane. Now, Venezuela Maduro has responded by using these threats to consolidate their internal power, cracking down on dissonant and labeling, you know, people in their organization as traitors. They're basically denouncing these U.S. military strikes and the naval blockade as the first stages of continental ambitions, warning that this is going to cause massive destabilization across Latin America. And then China is also involved in this because they have condemned this blockade, and the US has signed all of these new security deals across the region. And described by the Guardians as gunboat diplomacy on steroids. This is what I got when I tuned into this. Gunboat diplomacy on steroids, with countries like Colombia, Guyana to encircle Venezuela and basically make things worse. Maduro is warning that this aggression could spark a wider regional crisis, which really we know in Guardian terms that means that these dominoes are falling. These dominoes are falling. The swamp is getting flooded. That's basically what's happening. The swamp is getting cleaned out, and they don't like it. Evil does not go um, gently. Okay. And a lot of these negative ET factions are hybridized into these dark military governments, particularly with China. We do know that there is a very powerful and strong draconian Orion hybridized legion and region operating out of China. And they're actually coming into the Caribbean and they're setting up. In some of these areas, China is coming in and setting up outposts where they are essentially um, they're basically, how I said that Venezuelan oil holds a lot of sulfur? They're coming in and they're processing that oil in the Caribbean. And so this is actually posing, you know, contention to the United States. They don't want China in there. They don't want the Orion Dracos coming in there, right? Because that is going to continue to build more of this global pressure. So, you have to understand negative ET lines and leagues, they very well are complicit in the government, in the central intelligence agencies, in the naval offices as well. I mean, they're working with these lines and leagues, working with and working against. And this is how the war continues to play out. I think I stated yesterday in the update that I did with Rob and um, Danny Henderson. I was asked, do I feel that the Dracos or the reptilians are still on the planet? We were told by the Galactic Federation that they're all gone. No, that is not true. This plays out through these types of situations and wars. These narco terrorists that have a predatorial mindset to feed off of the innocent, to feed off of the homeless, to feed off of the American people. This is a predatorial regime. This is Draco behavior. This is reptilian behavior. These are hybridized lineages that function from this place. And this is normalizing the black market. This is normalizing um, things being done in the shadow. This is normalizing criminal activity. Okay, as soon as criminal activity begins to become normalized, crime is normalized. And just unmoral behavior, ungodly behavior is normalized. And this is the ultimate goal of the Draco reptilians. They were the first lines and leagues to take covenants with the Antichrist. And this is what they are trying to push. Killing people through fentanyl distribution is anti-life, it's anti-Christ. Okay, so rant and raving completed over here. Essentially, Venezuela's economy is forcing oil into shadow markets, ship to ship transfers, ghost tankers, okay, ghost fleets, and alliances with negative Federation factions and non-Western buyers, right? Like China, like Iran, okay? Like Stargate 10 types, like the actual draconian hive itself. And so, with the blockade in full effect, we're seeing kinetic actions. Vessels are being intercepted, tankers are being seized, and reports of the U.S. forces are pursuing ships near Venezuelan waters. And so, I mean, this is full on hot right now. You guys, this is hot. This is the hotbed. This is the hot zone. This is what Gene Decode and Carrie Cassidy, we're going to be talking with them soon on, getting more details and more intel about how the Greys are even involved in this. And so stay tuned for those updates. But essentially, and put a big like on this video if you're vibing with that, you guys, because you know that this is a black hole that has been ripped open in the Caribbean. There is a black hole wormhole system that is functioning and funneling here, and it is a death seal. It is a Draco seal, is what that is. So essentially, this shift is framed under counter narcotics and counter terrorism banners, but it's so much more than that. It's linking to the oil flows to the alleged narco terror networks embedded in the Venezuelan state, the corruption of this. Its narrative justifies expanded authorities, lethal interdictions at sea, asset seizures, and the treatment of the ocean as an active warfield rather than a neutral transit zone. Think about what this is doing to the frequency of the dolphins, to the whales, and to the living ecosystems there. Okay, and not only that, I ask you to really consider and think about what, you know, the war over oil truly means and represents. What does the war of oil represent? Okay, this is my message from the Guardian Alliance. On a planetary, spiritual grid level, oil is not viewed as just fuel. It is interpreted as fossilized solar life force energy. And I get chills going down my arms just as I say that. That is a living consciousness, one that is so pure and so potent that people kill for this, okay? Kill for it on a massive scale. Develop militaries and weapon systems for this. Think about that solar life force energy. It's the most powerful solar life force energy on the planet. It is compressed memory of ancient biological worlds, a dense lower band energy substance formed through planetary trauma and death cycles. The oil contains all of our struggle over who controls the earth, stored past life force. rather than its future solar potential. They're tapping into, from a guardian perspective, they're tapping into the past life force rather than the future solar potential. And so, in the grid terms, the oil corresponds to the lower density Earth layers of 1D, 2D Earth grids, the root chakra survival matrix, old Atlantean pre-cataclysm planetary trauma fields. Hence why this black hole system is dialing right into the Bermuda, right into Sarasota, right into this massive vortex here in the Caribbean. And the underworld systems, there is an entire billions of crystallized planetary pyramids under the Caribbean. Okay, massive Atlantean world and ecosystems under the water. Thus, this war for oil, this war to keep humanity anchored to scarcity, survival, and fossilized time loops, instead of transitioning to regenerative planetary systems, instead of transitioning to the new Earth way of life. So, from a guardian planetary lens, these wars are seen as reenactments of unresolved planetary trauma, feedback loops in the Earth's root and sacral chakra grids, attempts to delay a shift from an extractive way of life to living energy systems. And they repeat because the energetic lesson has not been integrated. Earth is not meant to run on the dead remains of past civilizations. And really, at the core of it, at the core of all of this, this is the underlying reason of the war, one that human beings on the 3D surface level fail to acknowledge and will not acknowledge. Okay? And the gray aliens, they love this. They get off on this. They're the battlefield commanders over the oil. Let's put it this way. I think this is how the grays are coming in. This is my interpretation of it, that they are the symbols of artificial consciousness. They are the representations of detached, non-empathic intelligence, reflections of AI-like governance systems. And on a grid level, the gray's energy equates to disconnection from Earth's emotional field. Hence, why the Amazon rainforest and all these sacred locations in Venezuela have become ultimately highly significant. They represent technocratic control systems and resource optimization without soul consideration. And really, so when people associate oil wars with grays, it is usually because oil wars mirror machine logic overriding organic planetary harmony, and this does not require literal extraterrestrial involvement. It can call in grays from 4D astral realms that don't have to be involved functionally, but they are valid through symbolic framework. And I feel like that's how it's interplaying out. I won't even get into the Dracos yet because it's a lot, you guys, and there's so much we have to get into in terms of the grids. So let's stay focused here. As you can see, I can definitely vary off into multiple dimensions as we are super multidimensional beings. And I think it's very important, though, that we stay focused in talking about the domino that's falling, the dark military fleets on the physical plane, that these are unacknowledged assets. Okay. How this functions and operates through Venezuela. We have to talk about this part of it because this is directly connected to the Drays, the Grays, and the Reptilians. Okay. Um, it comes through private contractors. This is how they get away with it. It comes through black budget operations, the black market, proxy navies operating outside public scrutiny. Energetically, they represent covert power structures that thrive on deniability. Denial. Okay, these are the greatest tactics of the Antichrist. Denial and takia, lies, manipulation. The current escalation, the strikes, the blockade, the threats suggest a tug of war over this deniability. That's what's happening. People are pushing accountability. Okay, accountability and truth dissolves the darkness. So the US aims to collapse it by naming and striking. Their whole motto right now through the Department of War is power through strength. Shadow systems preserve it by blending oil, drugs, and logistics into indistinguishable flows where it becomes hard to identify. So when this warfare ends in the Caribbean and all the blasting out of the water comes to an end, they're just going to find other corridors and means to get, up through the Panama and Costa Rica. Hence why the Greys want to come and take over the land in Costa Rica to try to intercept all organic life forms before coming up into the dove-like grid consciousness template of the United States. This is the core conflict. It is a battle for coherence over the grid and where they can flow that negative energy. So, what I am foreseeing, you guys, is from here, the domino effect has begun. The cleaning out has begun. What the US seeks to halt is profound. It's not just drugs infiltrating the border, it's the hardening of illicit cash flows that build parallel dark op economies. Okay? Entire economies that are black market. This is the collapsing down, you guys, of the child trafficking. This is the collapsing down of human trafficking. We have to wake up to what is really occurring here, right? Normalizing the shadow sovereignty, that this is okay. This is ungodly. It is filthy. It is vile. It is putrid. It is everything that is not angelic human. And if all of this is if all of this is kept unchecked, okay, and I can speak to this with guardian purity, if all of this is kept unchecked, this fractures the global order, spreading fragmentation. So through that guardian lens, this is disproportionate responses. Naval blockades amid UN warnings is about preventing a density model from stabilizing. Success here could trigger a 10-year purge of drugs and cartels across the quarantine window. And this is what the quarantine is about. If Venezuela's narco substance infiltration is stemmed, it dominoes into Colombia and Mexico, cleaning corrupted grids, dismantling cartel strongholds, and extracting tyranny implants that have long distorted these regions' sovereignty. Beloved ones, this purge aligns with the New Earth prophecy, a decade of clearing root distortions where extractive empires dissolve, making way for regenerative systems. This relationship between North and South America is reorganizing, shifting from dominance to equitable flow, from exploitation to mutual guardianship. Venezuela's grid point accelerates this as blockades force exposure of hidden alliances, purging grief from colonial wounds encoded in the continental spine, in the Andean spine, where the true guardian ancestors, where the Quiros reside at the top of the Andean mountains, pledging their ultimate loyalty to the guardian spirits and protecting Mother Earth. This is a call from the very tip of the Andean Mountains itself. And I'm getting chills again, chills going down my legs. This energy came through me like a lightning bolt to speak of the Quiros and how they are requesting this clearing, this healing of Pachamama, of Mama Iru, of Mama Amazonia. And so, whew, I'm feeling that come through me, you guys, like some electricity. And if you're feeling it too, drop a comment. Okay, let me know that this frequency is flowing. So, yes, beloved ones, let's discuss the sacred sites affecting the conflict here. Okay, I know I've gone on and on while we're just staring at the map, but it gives us a good visual for what is happening. Getting deeper into Venezuela here, I think it's significant that we understand these aren't just landmarks that I have charted here. These are nodes in the organic grid template, all very significant living anchors of Earth's original blueprint, holding codes for sovereignty, flow, and ascension. As global message shift occurs, these sites are activating, transmitting upgrades that counter this density. And as a grid worker team, okay, if you are putting together a grid worker mission, a grid worker team at this time, focus on these sites, you guys. I have laid it out for you in terms of your itinerary, and this is what you need to tap into. As these sites are activating, transmitting upgrades that counter this density, and we will explore as many of them as I possibly can um, to assist with this greater global clearing. And grid workers, this is what your mission is all about. This is about tapping into these sites and harnessing the spiritual energy and resources to initiate continued global shifts and changes for the better. So let's first talk about the Guyana Shield. This is a very significant location. Um, oh, let me find it here. Sorry about that. The Guyana Shield. Okay, here it is. So this is the Guyana Shield. Yep, Guyana Shield, Tepe, Mount Roraima. These are all very significant here. So let's tune in. And so much spiritual significance in both of these locations, particularly this Guyana Shield here. This is very significant. Venezuela's strongest ancient Earth grid zone, very old geology, high remoteness, and deep indigenous cosmology. Let's tune in. It actually looks like a shield. You can see this whole tip of like the mount, um, and it's definitely looks like a shield, like it's protecting something. So this is why this is so significant. And when I say protecting something, is because it is protecting something. It is protecting the Atana and the Wahari Kauai. Atana and Wahari Kauai, the tree of life in the Amazon. This is what this is. And now I about flew out of my chair when I heard this, that the Amazonian tree of life resides in Venezuela, in the mountains. This is central to the Piora traditions. It is a sacred locus embodying the tree of life archetype. It has roots that go into the underworld, and the trunk in the physical is the shield, and the branches go into the heavens. And energetically, it anchors the vertical alignment here into the Amazon, stabilizing the grid against horizontal distortions like maritime blockades. And in the current conflict, it represents untouched sovereignty of the Amazon. Okay, the interior resilience against these coastal pressures. As these sanctions disrupt supply, this site broadcasts messages of endurance, countering failed state narratives. So this is a very, very significant area in Venezuela, and we need to tap into that to clear. It's one of the most sacred sites, the Tree of Life. Now, close by is Canema and National Park Angel Falls in the Ayan Tepe region. So let's tune into Angel Falls. Let me come out a little bit. Angel Falls. Now this is a Shambhala portal, you guys. Angel Falls. Yes, right here. Okay. This is a Shambhala portal. This is where the ascended masters ultimately descend into the planet. This is a gateway to 12D ascended beings that ultimately come in spirit form and guide humanity. This has to be protected at all costs. You didn't know there was a Shambhala, you didn't know there was a Shambhala portal in Venezuela, did you? Um, so this portal has beautiful structures into the angelic kingdom, into the 5D universal time matrix, um, into the purified afterlife, and angels gather on top of Angel Falls. I mean, this is actually a meeting zone for the Elion spirits, the Alacia spirits, the Seraphi and the Brahma and the Melchizedek spirits. This is a meeting ground where they come. Okay, I'm trying to tune in as much as I can here so you can see Angel Falls. It's beautiful. Look up pictures of this on Google Earth. Um, it's considered a cathedral. So, I mean, you could stand on top of Angel Falls and hear the holiest of holy angelic singing over the landscape of Venezuela. It's actually considered a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Holds the highest frequency water codes. Angel Falls adds a cascading portal of purification. Gridwork wise, it clears emotional densities in the Amazon. So, this is what I mean, you guys. This war, as much as it is about all these 3D things, this geopolitical warfare and the narco terrorism and changing of the regime and the oil, this is about flushing grief from planetary waters. This is about cleansing the grief from North America and South America, tied to the conflict, tied to the loss of all of the lives. It serves as a soft power leverage, Venezuela's ecological legitimacy amid these oil quarantines. As aviation restrictions bite, access to this site symbolizes national revenue struggles. Yet its activation purges scarcity implants, supporting the 10-year cartel cleanse. So Angel Falls, and I feel the Guardians significantly bringing this forward for me to give this information to you for your thoughts, for your meditation, for your prayers. Focus on Angel Falls because this will clear the darkness, this location here. You know, Venezuela is activating because it's the what's the word? It's it's the poison and the cure all at the same time. So that's why we're being guided to look into this. Now, going back to Mount Roraima, this is also another very significant location that was close to the Tree of Life. Mount Roraima. Okay, let's tune into that. See if we can see it there. I think it's the whole shelf, to be honest with you. It's at the tip. Yeah, it's the tip of the whole shelf, tepe, all of this. So this here, a tri-border, a tri-border threshold, right? So we have it bordering the other nations and with Brazil and Guyana. And this Tepe World Mountain is a portal of transition associated with indigenous thresholds. Geopolitically, it's a pressure point in the Esquibo dispute, escalated by offshore oil finds. The blockade amplifies the border tensions, but the site's message shifts the unity, reorganizing North and South relations by dissolving artificial divisions, extracting terrorism implants that fuel territorial wars between Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. So, yeah, this is all very, very important. As I told you guys, most of the conflicts do reside on the borders. They are the highest frequency zones. So the fact that this is here as like a guardian, and this is what the guardians are, you guys. The guardians are the mountain peaks. The guardians are the Shambhala portals themselves. The guardians are Angel Falls. They have eyes that see through the mountains. They have eyes that see through the falls. They are watching and protecting. Now, let's look at the Orinoco Basin. Let's see if I can find this one. Okay, this is up closer. This one is also highly significant here. Let's tune into this. Yeah, so it's this whole area here. And this is considered a planetary water artery. So in South American cosmologies, rivers are spirit highways. And, you know, these are all rivers running through, right? Like all this area here, these are rivers. And so the Orinoco is Venezuela's water spine. It's governing flow amid the blockades. Amid the blockades, it becomes vital for internal cohesion, resisting external chokeholds. Energetically, it's clearing the grief swaddles. Okay, more pockets of grief in the Amazon. Energetic cloth binding old traumas. That ties to the Amazon. The Orinoco feeds into it, linking it into the lungs of Mother Earth. Clearing here, preventing deeper attacks on the rainforest, purging darkness that would exploit fragmentation. And I can say I feel a deep clearing, releasing from the sacral and the root chakra. So, yeah, this site here is very significant here. We must tune into it. We must tune in here. I even feel guided to, over this area, speak to the Guardian Covenant. Here, you guys, I'm bringing through a decree here in this area. So, take a nice deep breath. We, the eternal guardians of the Christos Sophia flame, stand in sacred covenant and solidarity with the living body of earth and the basin of the Orinoco. Through the divine remembrance, we restore the law of one, the unity architecture of creation, and the original promise of planetary ascension. And we seal this in light, not in our word. We seal this in eternal decree between source, earth, and all sentient beings. We choose love, truth, and sovereignty. It is the remembrance of our origin and our return to the eternal flame. We bear witness to the awakening of the planetary grids, the return of the solar Christos lineages, and the rise of the new earth civilizations born through the Amazon, through the purified heart of humanity, through every sacred site, stargate, and flame record now unsealed. The Guardian Covenant restores the organic timelines of the mother planet. And so it is, and so it shall be. And just take a nice deep breath again, getting chills going down the body. Yes, these locations are extraordinarily lit up like a Christmas tree. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year 2026, you guys. This energy is coming in and coming through, and we are a part of it. Okay, so this one here, so this one was very significant. Lake Maracaibo. Let's look at Lake Maracaibo. Okay, up here at the top. Now, yes, what did I put here? Okay, so one of the most intense atmospheric electrical zones on the Earth. Catatumbo lightning is globally famous. So this location is a lightning zone. This is where, wow, whoo, getting the Aquilan energy coming in here, making it a natural sky altar in many energetic frameworks. Okay, so this is historically tied to Venezuela's oil economy, which sits at the center of the Venezuelan tension and under Trump's administration imposed major measures on Venezuela's state oil, making oil choke points and export narratives central to the conflict framing. So we can clear some of this oil contention here at Lake Maracaibo. And also, what I was picking up on last night is I was sensing there was a strong ley line connection from Lake Maracaibo and the lightning strikes out to this location here, which is Los Roques Archipelago, the maritime choke points. So this is actually where the energy is getting choked. This is where there's a lot of contention into the Caribbean waters, and you know, high frequency ocean grids. So there's a lot of interdictions, this maritime chokehold. But here, clear blue fields can be harnessed here to release the flow of these chokeholds. You have Isla Margarita, a sea temple that is there, and it stages sovereignty narratives against the blockade. So we can tune into these sea temples and just really work to release this contention in the waters, right? So yeah, this is a stronghold here from the lake to the archipelago. And really, underwater reefs that are here. I mean, let's tune into that because there's a whole ecological system that is here. Reefs and you know, ocean, marine life, dolphins, whales, sharks, even I'm getting sharks. I'm getting like the hammerhead shark coming through right now that they're like moving through the reefs, clearing prey versus predator codes, victimizer programs here underneath the waters. And beloved ones, you know, these sites collectively pertain to all of Venezuela by anchoring the organic template back in against the distortion. This is what we're doing when we do grid work. And when we tune into the Guardian Alliance, because this is what they support, is the revival of the grids. And so, not only these locations, but that tree of life, Angel Falls, have high significance in these global clearings. This is what is really how you know that all of this is smoke and mirrors, even false flags on some level, because the truth is the organic grid. The truth is the organic template. And this is linking into the Amazon as Earth's lungs release the grief, the swaddling cloth as grief bindings release, darkness is clearing, preventing rainforest incursions, fostering a 10-year purge into the quarantine, purging drugs, purging the cartels, dissolving Colombia and Mexico, following the dominoes as this all gets reorganized into order. Tyranny and terrorism implants extracted, allowing sovereign rebirth. This is what we're watching. Now the war of oil in grid terms. As the oil, as oil, and the war of oil. Oil as fossilized solar life force, compressed ancient trauma, wars over it reenact unresolved cycles, anchoring to 1D to 2D scarcity. Guardians see this as delaying shifts to regenerative systems. Guardians see this as delaying shifts to regenerative systems. So this is about regeneration. This is ultimately about rehabilitation. Okay, gray involvement, symbolic of artificial detachment. That is what is being cleared. Thriving in oil's machine logic, the Draco dominance archetypes hoarding through survival control. This does not imply literal aliens. Again, it does, but it doesn't. It's also archetypal exploitation and distortion and reversal. And even as I say that, I see like alien ships flying over Venezuela. I see like flying saucers, like gray flying saucers, technology wanting to intercept, but can't ultimately even land in Venezuela because of these sacred sites. This does not avoid miscalculation. This does not avoid the miscalculation at the sea. We are at a threshold. We are holding the observation, and the water right now is speaking wisdom over this fear. We have to tune into the waters. So I'm going to be sending my prayers over the Gulf of America down to the Caribbean as I go down to the Pensacola beach once it warms up in a couple days. I love you all so much. I just want to say, please stay grounded. Okay. Um, Thank you all so much for holding the field. And this transmission is coming to a close. And the grid is activating onward, you guys. So thank you. I love you all so much. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. Again, hit that like button on this video if you really enjoyed this message today. And consider getting a grid personal reading with yours truly, Indigo Angel, at indigoangel222.com. And my pre-order for the Guardian Alliance Gridwork in New Earth Prophecy is dropping on the 31st. I will be doing a live show with Typical Skeptic. Please come and join me, where I will be giving the links for the official pre-order and the official launch on 2/22/2026. So I love you all so much. I'm so excited for everything that's to come. And I will be back with you guys on the next video.